With a heavy heart, I'm here to report that Glen Campbell has died at age 81. I remember Glen, many songs. Galveston is probably one of the biggest songs. Lineman for the County is probably my two favorite songs of all time. Lineman from the County is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. It's a haunting sound. It has a kind of a haunting sound to it, and it's a really good song. If you've never heard that one, pop that up on YouTube and listen to it. Also, of course, Galveston. Those are his top two songs as far as I'm concerned. And here's the story. Glen Campbell, the incredible voice behind 21 top 40 hits, including Rhinestone Cowboy, Wichita Lineman, that's it, Wichita Lineman. And by the time I get to Phoenix, died today, Tuesday. He was 81. A rep from the Universal Music Group, Campbell's record label, confirmed the singer's death. And during a career that spanned 6 decades, Campbell sold over 45 million records. In 1968, one of his biggest years, he outsold the Beatles. Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that. It is with the heaviest of hearts that we announce the passing of our beloved husband, father, grandfather, and legendary singer and guitarist, Glen Travis Campbell, at the age of 81. Following his long and courageous battle with Alzheimer's disease, the singer's family said in a statement, Campbell was a rare breed in the music business and various careers as a top-level studio guitarist. And that's how he started, people. He was a guitarist in the background of many big singers. Then later on, he started to sing on his own. Chart-topping singer and hit television host. His late career battle with Alzheimer's, he allowed a documentary crew to film on his final tour for the 2014 award-winning I'll Be Me, made him a public face for the disease, a role President Bill Clinton suggested would one day be remembered even more than his music. I don't think so, but he had that beautiful tenor with a crystal clear guitar sound, playing lines that were so inventive. Tom Petty told Rolling Stone that. Campbell was born in 1936 in Billstown, Arkansas, the seventh son in a sharecropping family of 12 kids. We used to watch TV by candlelight, Campbell told Rolling Stone. Well, I think what he meant was that's wrong. We used to listen to the radio by candlelight. That's what he really said. So I don't know what, that's kind of weird. In his youth, because that's all they had back then was radio. In his youth, Campbell started playing guitar and became obsessed with jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt. He dropped out of school when he was 14 and moved to Wyoming with an uncle who was a musician, playing gigs together at rural bars. So he quit school at 14 and ran away. Probably because his family was so big there was no food for him. He soon moved to Los Angeles and by 1962 had solidified a spot in the Wrecking Crew. That's 55 years ago. A group of session pros. In 1963 alone, he appeared in 586 cuts and countless more throughout the decade, including the Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man, Elvis Presley's Viva Las Vegas, Merle Haggard's Mama Tried, and the Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Loving Feeling. So he played guitar on all those songs, which is amazing. He said, I'd have to pick cotton for a year to make what I'd make in a week in L.A. He said, I earned it, and it was crucial to play right on the edge of the beat. It makes you drive the song more. You're ahead of the beat, but you're not. Following Wrecking Crew member fellow Wrecking Crew member Leon Russell called Campbell the best guitar player I've heard before or since. Occasionally we'd play with 50 or 60-piece orchestras. His deal was he didn't read music, so they would play it one time for him and he had it. So this guy was a genius. He didn't even read music. In the late and I think one of the Beatles, George Harrison, was the same way. He couldn't read music. He just played the guitar all by heart, by ear. So him and George Harrison were the same. It says right here, in 1964, Brian Wilson had a nervous breakdown on tour with the Beach Boys. and the band called on Campbell to replace him on bass and high harmonies. I took Brian's place, and that was just, I was in heaven then, hog heaven, Campbell remarked. He fit right in, said Wilson. His main forte is he's a great guitar player, but he's even a better singer than all the rest. He could sing higher than I could. Wilson even wrote an early song, I Guess I'm Dumb, for Campbell. His first hit was a cover of Buffy St. Marie's anti-war song, Universal Soldier, but Campbell's own political views tended to be conservative. The people who are advocating burning draft cards should be hung, he said in 1965. Campbell had his first major hit in 1967 with By the Time I Get to Phoenix, written by Jimmy Webb. An LA kid with a knack for intricate ballads, Glen's vocal power and technique was the perfect vehicle for these, in a way, very sentimental and romantic songs. And I think that we made some records that were very nearly perfect. Wichita Lineman is a very near perfect pop record, Webb said. That's my favorite right there, Wichita Lineman. Fire that up if you haven't heard that in a long time. I think in the process that Glen was a prime mover in the whole creation of the country crossover phenomena that made the careers of Kenny Rogers and some other artists. The tune kicked off a working relationship that included the haunting Vietnam War ballad Galveston. Yeah, I didn't know it was about Vietnam War. The tender, Gentle on My Mind and Wichita Lineman, Campbell's first top #1 hit. So I think Wichita Lineman was his first top #10 hit. With swelling orchestral arrangements and slick production, the songs weren't exactly considered hip in the 60s. They felt packaged for middle-of-the-road older crowd, said Tom Petty. At first you go, oh, I don't know about that, but it was such a pure good stuff that you had to put off your prejudices and learn to love it. It taught me not to have those prejudices. In 1968, Campbell won Grammys in both the country and pop categories, including Best Country and Western Solo Performance, Male, Best Country and Western Song, and Best Vocal Performance, Male. So he won big in 68. In the summer of 68, Campbell guest hosted the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. The successful appearance led to his very own variety show, the Glen Campbell Good Time Hour, which he hosted from 1969 until 1972. Artists like Ray Charles, Johnny Cash, and Linda Ronstadt performed on the show, which also gave a national platform to rising country stars like Willie Nelson. He exposed us to a big part of the world that would have never had the chance to see us, said Nelson. He's always been a big help to me. So he helped Willie Nelson in his career. I didn't know that either. A young Steve Martin was a writer on the show. He just went along with it, Martin said, in I'll Be Me. He was completely game and completely fun and had a kind of a down-home sense of humor. It was just an incredible treat for us young writers to be introduced to talent at that level at such a young age. So it sounds like Campbell was a genius, and geniuses just do that. They can adapt and do anything. Campbell's boyish charisma led John Wayne to cast him in a co-starring role in 1969's True Grit. So he's the movie star. He's in True Grit also. He later said that his acting was so amateurish that he gave John Wayne that push to win the Academy Award. But the good times didn't last. The show was canceled. The first feature film, 1970's Norwood, flopped and his hits dried up for a few years. Then Campbell scored a smash hit with 1975's Rhinestone Cowboy. It began a comeback that included hits Country Boy and Southern Nights. The hits slowed down again in the 80s. In the 90s, he opened up the Glen Campbell Good Time Theater in Branson, Missouri. Campbell was married 4 times. He had 5 sons and 3 daughters. In the early 1980s, while battling alcoholism and cocaine addiction, Campbell made tabloid headlines with a 15-month high-profile relationship with country singer Tanya Tucker, who was 22 years his junior. In 1981, he became a born-again Christian. In 1982, he married Kimberly Woolen, a Radio City Music Hall rockette who helped Campbell clean up his life. In 2003, he was arrested for hit and run, an incident that ended with him allegedly kneeing a police officer in the right thigh before he was released. Campbell pleaded guilty to extreme drunken driving and leaving the scene of an accident and spent 10 days in jail. In 2011, Campbell, then 75, revealed he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. In June of that year, he announced he was retiring from music due to his disease. He released his final album of original music, Ghost on the Canvas, with guests Billy Corgan, Paul Westerberg, and Jacob Dylan, and embarked on a farewell tour with 3 of his children backing him. He played 151 shows on his final tour. The audience being there somehow triggers his ability to access that other part of his brain. You Choose the Edge said, "It's incredible." So here he is with Alzheimer's, and he's doing all these final shows. And he was a great guy. He did a lot of things, and Alzheimer's took him away. I think he had sound body, but Alzheimer's will take you in the very end. Now, his absolute last song, I'm going to read his last song and his last poem here, and I'm going to end it with this. This is his absolute last song that he wrote. He wrote it for his family and his fans, and here it is. I'm Not Gonna Miss You by Glen Campbell. I'm still here, but yet I'm gone. I don't play guitar or sing my songs. They never defined who I am, the man that loves you till the end. You're the last person I will love. You're the last face I will recall. And best of all, I'm not going to miss you. Not going to miss you. I'm never going to hold you like I did, or say I love you to the kids. You're never going to see it in my eyes. It's not going to hurt me when you cry. I'm never going to know what you go through, all the things I say or do, all the hurt and all the pain. One thing selfishly remains. I'm not going to miss you. I'm not going to miss you. We love you, Glenn, and we're going to miss you, okay? So hopefully you're in heaven with all the other singers up there, like Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Jim Reeves, Elvis Presley, all the singers that have left us. God bless you, Glen Campbell.